Hey everybody, welcome to OND DND, the show about how we tell you everything between rolling your dice better and making funny voices. I am forever DM and lover of twists, Hunter.
I am Joey. Don't hate the player, hate the game.
Nice, that's a good one. And today we are talking about NPCs and how to craft memorable ones in order to bring your TTRPG to life.
It's true. That's what we were talking about. We
It
came
is.
up with a topic earlier.
We did.
When we were like, it's going to be two of us. We better pick something good.
Make something good. So yeah, we're gonna talk about NPCs and sort of
How you can become an NPC in your life.
That's so. If you get that from this, then wonderful. And I wanted to start these with something every episode. With this, for example. So we're gonna be talking about NPCs today, and for anybody who can put the coolest NPC in the comments of this video, we will bring up in a future video and talk about your cool NPC.
Yeah, or
we'll feature it.
The most memorable NPC you've had in one of your campaigns.
Yeah, put it in there, and we'll pick which one we think is the coolest, and you might show up in one of our future episodes.
But also only if you like the video as well.
And
you better subscribe so that you'll know when we do it.
Yeah. All of that.
Things, all the YouTube things.
All right, so before we get too crazy on this, first thing we should do is we're gonna highlight what the importance of an NPC is and what it does for the world. What's your opinion on that, Joey?
Well, if you don't have NPCs in your game, there's nothing in your game. There's 4 to 6 people standing on a barren plain.
I mean, some people play those kinds of games, but no. Even
Dark Souls has an NPC.
It does. It's got a couple, I think.
Yeah.
It's got a couple.
So
Joey, you were saying that NPCs are important because it makes things not boring.
You gotta fill out the world.
Make
it feel alive.
Yeah, the importance.
The hustle and bustle of society.
Now, when
Quest
it comes
givers.
I was about to say, when it comes to NPCs, there are many different types of NPCs, not just the random people.
Shopkeepers.
Yes. Just gonna keep saying stuff. When it comes to NPCs, there are different types of NPCs, and essentially it kind of comes down to two groups of NPCs: key NPCs and incidental ones. And key NPCs come down to like the allies, the villains, the important people, basically people who are important to the main plot. Those are all key NPCs, people that affect the story in a bigger part. Then there's incidental NPCs, which sometimes end up as the most memorable. NPCs.
They'll always become the one the DM's like, yeah, this kid picks up a coin that was dropped on the ground by you and gives it back. Oh my God, we're adopting him.
So, and then there's incidental NPCs, which ends up being, like those kids, the beggars, the shopkeepers,
the goblin.
The goblin, just random travel. Like that's Fart buckle, rip, R.I.P. And so there's these two different types of these of NPCs that should live in your world.
Mm-hmm.
And they sort of fall into those different types of those two categories. But then all of those NPCs will have like different roles and stuff as well. But that would be their functions, as to what NPCs do. So like I said, we talked about incidental NPCs and key NPCs. What are functions of an NPC that you know? What are like some of the different functions an NPC does for a campaign?
I can say it again.
Or could do?
Quest givers.
Yes.
Shopkeepers.
Oh, yes.
Minion.
Minion, yeah. You didn't say that one. That one's good.
Enemy.
Sure.
Ally.
Yes, comedic relief.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'm usually doing that, so I don't look for it in my NPCs.
Oh, yeah. Emotional anchors.
Fake sex on graph paper.
There's lore bearers.
Legend lore. The character.
Is there any other functions of an NPC you can think of?
Pet.
Yeah. Yeah, pet. I'd almost give that as an emotional anchor as well. At least it could double. Not that NPCs can only be one thing. They could be more than one thing.
You know,
But
if you want
pets-
your NPCs to be complex, you should take these terms and mix them together.
You
like
sure?
quest-giving shopkeeper.
Ah!
when the NPCs touch tips, that's when things start getting interesting.
Stupid. But yeah, so you've got the two separate the categories, and then we have the function of NPCs. What are some examples that you have of some of those different types of NPCs?
Well, I run far less than our forever DM, but I do DM occasionally. I would say, well, let's see if you agree with me. I'd say probably one of the most memorable quest-giving shopkeeper NPCs that I've put in a game would be Fish from the Cyberpunk game that I ran.
Yes, yeah, I would say so. There's also the fish guy. Or you just said fish. The cat guy.
Fish was not a fish. Fish was just a kind of
he
a
was
skeevy
Yeah.
Western European man that lived in a pawn shop.
Yes, yeah. No, I meant the cat guy from the Apocalypse game. Tug. Yeah. He
Short
was
for tugboat.
He was a good memorable. Again, now these are both. No, actually, so Fish was a key NPC, I would say, because he was our quest. He was our literal
your fixer, so he was giving you jobs.
Yeah, he was our main plot quest giver. Whereas Tug from the Apocalypse game was an incidental NPC.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't have any sort of take on the importance of what was going on. It was just sort of he lived there and we interacted with him.
Mm-hmm.
Those are both NPCs from your games.
Yes.
What other NPCs can you think of?
Oh, do you want me to do some from your games?
Oh, maybe.
Oh, I thought maybe you'd like to do the same thing that I did.
Oh, and say one of mine.
To me, yeah.
I could, yeah. You know what? I will say one because
if you're correct or not.
Okay, all right. I would say a good incidental NPC we had that I still remember from a long time. Which, oh my gosh, now that I started thinking about him, I forgot his name.
He doesn't know who this
Forgot
is.
his name now that I started thinking about him.
This is why he wanted me to say him.
Yeah. Was from our campaign set in Valestrad.
Mm-hmm.
He was a shopkeep in one of the main towns. The old guy, something gray. Remember him, the halfling who gave Bree her lightning sword?
We saved his burning shop.
You did.
Yeah.
He saved his burning shop.
Speaking of Bree, she's shown up as an NPC in my games.
Yeah. That's a Joey thing big time, though. Joey will always take a character he's played before and put it in a game that he's DMing in some way or another, creating that multi-slootyverse is what he's done. But yeah, you remember that guy?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't remember his name.
It's something gray.
Yeah.
Which is upsetting that I don't remember his name because I
remember the crooked whales.
Remember the crooked whales. You'll always remember the crooked whales. But I remember him because he was like the first sort of loving NPC that none of you suspected of being bad ever.
Yeah.
And it was great.
We were so innocent back then.
And remember, that was the NPC you guys met directly after you started. Like, you joined in. You guys made it to that town. When you came into the town, you heard an explosion.
And it was the crooked whales blowing up his shop.
Yes. Yeah. So that was an incidental NPC. And then a key NPC, I think might have been a key NPC because he affected I don't think he started off as a key NPC, but he became one essentially afterwards as he affected the main plot. It's another one from Valestrad.
Toby.
Yes. How did you know?
It was going to be Toby because you couldn't have done this list without putting Toby on it.
Can you explain to them who Toby was?
Toby was a homunculus.
No, he's a Nothic.
A Nothic,
yes,
right?
Yes, yeah, a baby Nothic.
Yeah, with
little kid
the
Nothic.
one-eye boys.
Yep.
Who wanted to be a wizard.
Mm-hmm.
So he started following our party's wizard around, which was funny because our party's wizard was like, I'm not actually a wizard, guys. I'm a powerful fighter. Look at my sword.
But then he ended up being a lot more wizardy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can tell that he was actually a wizard because he started crying that he wasn't getting enough money or paper to write spells down on.
You guys also saved Toby. Toby was following you guys for a little while.
Toby.
You guys didn't really care. But then when his life was in danger and Lolith, the wizard, saved him from the boulder falling on him.
That was when we Bro'd up.
adopted. Yeah,
he
bro'd
became the
up.
party mascot.
He did. Um,
And then he got disintegrated.
damn, really buried the lead there, didn't you?
Well, I didn't want to get the audience to get too emotionally attached to Toby.
He very much started as an incidental NPC. He didn't really mean to have more intention than the fact that he just wanted to be a wizard, and it could have at just some point just been, oh, okay, here you go, run along, little guy. But no, you guys adopted him, and through your actions changed and made him grow, which eventually grew to him really looking up to Lilith and Lilith becoming sort of his mentor. And then when Lilith was in trouble, tried to save him, but he didn't know, and it got Toby killed, got him disintegrated.
Mm-hmm.
And that sort of was another point for Lilith of, like, fuck, man, why does everything I do hurt people?
Why does everything I touch turn to shit?
Yeah. So yeah, there was that. That was a key NPC.
I think a big thing for DMs to think about too is if your players are coming to you and they're giving you, information, their backstories that have NPCs, you should work to flesh those NPCs out, because that will make them happy as players, and it will, other people will build off that energy too. Mm-hmm. So, and it gives you less work to do.
Yes. So before we just keep going into more memories about NPCs, there's something
to do a different segment.
I know. That's why I'm going into
we don't want to talk about. Okay.
No. Which one? You go ahead. Well, my bad. You go ahead.
Oh, are you sure?
Yeah.
It seems like you got a whole list of things.
We do, but go ahead. Am I in your camera?
You
are. Creating NPCs, having help from your players to create NPCs.
So, like, Bree had a very big Weasley-esque family.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. I remember. Joy says, oh, hold on. So, yeah, we won't go too deep into this. But, yes, working with your players to create NPCs. One, collaborative storytelling. You were right. Every episode is going to come back to collaborative storytelling. Your players want to live in your world. If you've gotten them engaged enough, they want to play in your world. They want to be a part of your world. They want to live in it. They want to affect. Yeah, they want to affect change. They want to affect the way it works. So work with them about what they know about the world, what they can bring to it. And that fact being, when we were starting our first campaign, Joey's like, yeah, you know what, I want to join. I said, okay, cool. What's your character? Now, Joey is a very upfront person, though, too. So he's like, oh, yeah, Hunter, I want to play. I have a character all set up. Oh, you do? He's like, yeah, here. Hands me 10 pages worth of backstory with family tree, history of Valastrad, all of these different things. And I go, what the hell, Joey? He goes, what? I said, you just thought of this character yesterday. But no, that stuff's awesome. You want players like Joey, because having that cooperative storytelling of creating those NPCs really makes a difference. Because one, he's gonna love that I read it and that I use it in the story, meaning that I've listened to him, and I'm gonna love it because I didn't have to do any work other than read. Go ahead, you have more thoughts.
Well, yeah, I'm not the only person, obviously, that brought people to that, because you had Lilith, who had his whole, like,
tribe,
estranged father-brother situation.
Yeah.
And, so he sort of brought that baggage with him. And then I don't know how much he had fleshed it out at the beginning, but it wound up being, this whole arc where we had to go up and help him do that thing. And that's going to be like, those NPCs help you build, like, story arcs for characters,
mm-hmm.
instead of just being like, I exist.
Yeah. I
was maybe a knight or something. Don't do that.
And the fact that makes those NPCs memorable is the amount. I think a big part of what makes an NPC memorable, that's how I want to start that sentence, is the amount of stake they have in the player's journey. That's big on how to make an NPC memorable. From the shopkeep that they met when they got to town, who offered them a discount because they helped them, to the estranged father from your village who was looking to make a new society for his people, but your brother wouldn't let him, and decided to, sorry, this is me taking the pieces of the world and putting them into a puzzle. And your so-called brother, who was supposed to take over, slowly killing your father so that wouldn't happen, and you having to fight against him. Like, those are like, that's the craziness. It's the amount of stake that NPC has in the player's journey that really makes them memorable, in my opinion, is the biggest thing. There are other things, but I think that's probably the biggest thing to me.
And you don't always have to make it a thing that's good for your character.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously Lulla's led to a fight.
Mm-hmm.
My character Fick in the first Coralthea was contracted with a demon to collect magic items.
Mm-hmm.
That wound up getting me kicked out of the party.
Mm-hmm.
My second character in Coralthea 1, estranged from her family, wound up causing her sort of conflict at the end, wound up causing, current states in our current campaign.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't always have to be like, oh, this is my cool mentor NPC that's going to high five me and help me collect gold rings.
It's, you should, so that's another thing. When you're thinking about making when you as a player want NPCs for your character, know that, yeah, it's great to make NPCs that are going to help you. But if you really want to make your DM love you, make shit that hurts you. Because they love that. They love to know that you want to tell a story. Because, all right, high fives and rainbows is fun, but that's not a compelling story. Knowing that you are willing to take sacrifice or detrimental things to your character makes for such a good story. So that's another thing to think about when you're making these NPCs, whether from the player side or the DM side, is don't always, like, from a DM side, not every NPC has to be helpful. It's okay to make NPCs that want to backstab the party.
Yeah, especially if they're scientists.
Especially if they're scientists. I somehow very early on only made NPCs that were bad scientists, and I apparently forgot to ever make a good scientist.
He's typecast into bad scientists only now.
That was my fault. I forgot to make a good scientist. Only the bad guys are scientists. Sorry, only the scientists were only bad guys. There was no good scientists. But as time goes on, I've learned. So let's talk a little bit more about what makes the NPC memorable itself. And I think a big part of that is like personality and physical traits. Now, those aren't a mess. That was 18, right?
Yep.
Okay, so we got another
few minutes.
4. Do you want to put 4 because we'll go forever? Anyway, what makes them more memorable? I had just said the stake they have in the player's story. What's the most memorable? What makes an NPC the most memorable to you, you think? And then let's talk about some minors.
I think a big part of it is, really painting a picture of who the character is. I'll do that a lot. Like, I will describe the setting, like Fish's pawn shop. I tried to make feel alive. Like, they're in this heat wave. There's no AC in this building. He's got like an old steel door fan with the door propped open.
Yep.
Just like old VCRs and shit, and just junk everywhere, and tried to give it like smells and sounds, and like all before even getting to the description of the character, just the environment that you're in when you meet the character.
Yeah.
So I try to build NPCs a lot like that. Like, I try to make the whole environment around the NPC part of that NPC's personality.
Yeah, I like that.
Like Bree's, when you met Bree in Elseworlds.
Yes.
It was a very sort of Old West style office. But I wanted to have sort of like little bits of fantastical elements in there. Like, so there's the very tall desk with the tall stacks of books on it, and the really big dog in the corner, the wolfhound in the corner. And so it was sort of like this Wild West vibe with sort of a little bit of fantasy sprinkled in before you ever even met the character who was behind the stack of books. So I try to do that a lot when I'm building NPCs, is build the environment up around them and then introduce the NPC.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, that's kind of like what I did for Mithros.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You know, it's, if you guys have been watching Krathia Waking Fates, that is an NPC character, which we are talking about NPCs for that campaign. And like Joey said, you know, there's a way to create and introduce an NPC through their environment, not just them, but how they affect the world that your players are living in. You know,
I think that's a big thing, is the NPC also lives in the world. So you have to make it feel believable, like Tug and Six and their kids. And they had, like, I tried to make them have like interpersonal relationships with each other, you know, create that dynamic between them. So that they're not just there to be talking heads for you. They have their own little lives going on outside of
their
the
own
players.
stakes, their own things. Yes. The NPCs don't live in the players' lives, and the players don't live in the NPCs' lives. They all live in the same world, living the same life. So they all will affect the world in their own way. So that explanation of the environment around them it can be really fun when you're introducing an NPC and how they affect that. And some other parts are like their personality and physical traits. So when you're looking,
don't just say there's a shopkeeper, you describe the shop.
Yeah, like
there's this big fat tabaxi, and he's got sort of an pop top button on his shirt, and it's sort of greasy apron on top of it. And he's just big jolly smile on his face. And
so going in, you're knowing, okay, well, just from looking at this guy, he's apparently going to be a jokester. You know, he's going to be really jolly. He's a big guy, blah, blah, blah. You live it because you can see it now as it's explained. It's not just, oh, this is the shopkeeper Tugs, he's a tabaxi. No, this is the shopkeeper of this establishment. You see his kids running around. He's got, you know, did he have one arm?
No.
Who was the character that had? Never mind, doesn't matter. But I remember there being. I was like, wait a minute, who's the character that had one hand?
The cook.
Yes, that's what it was. But anyway, like you're explaining these things, and you really feel it. So personality and physical traits is also an important part of NPCs, but not the most important part. They are what can help make an NPC memorable. But as much as you can be like, oh, you met this person, they have a weird, funny voice. They're just gonna remember the weird, funny voice. I think the most memorable thing is the stake they have at the player's journey. And how they interact with the world around it. We didn't hit everything we wanted to, but
we got through a good amount.
We did.
If you have questions, guys, let us know.
Yeah, so thank you
guys.
The
comment section is for.
Yeah, thank you all for joining us for OND DND. How to make a memorable NPC.
Yeah, make your NPCs better.
Yeah, I have been your DM Hunter.
And your forever player, Joey.
We'll get an outro. We have an intro now, but we haven't figured out the outro yet. But thank you guys so much. Joey, where can they watch our live play?
Oh, Wednesday nights on Twitch, Older and Dumber. That's Older, the letter N, Dumber, twitch.tv. I did that backwards. Twitch.tv/older, the letter N, Dumber.
Yeah, there you go.
Wednesday nights, 8 o'clock Eastern time. Hop on there and support us. At least for now. We might change the day, but we'll let you know.
Hopefully you come and enjoy our adventures in Krathia Waking Fates, where we put all of this knowledge and fun tricks to the test. Thank you guys so much for joining us for OND D&D.
Bye. Hey there, dipshits. It's me, Joey, a.k.a. Slooty Mage.
I'm Hunter, voice of Hunter Taylor.
And I'm Carter, Eagle. We're
Older and Dumber.
Every Friday, we drop wisdom, humor, and a whole lot of nonsense. You won't want to miss it.
Become a patron today for as low as $5 a month. Get early access to all our episodes and exclusive behind-the-scenes looks at all the things we're doing and May's super secret editing notes.
Shout out to our awesome dipshits. Your support really helps keep this madness going.
Join the crew. Be a dipshit. It's an exclusive club, and you're invited.
So Dipshits, mark your calendar every Friday for a dose of Older and Dumber craziness. See you there.
Fade to black.
On my stand. Fade to black.